My sister faked illness for years to ruin my life, so I exposed her at family dinner and watched her beg as everyone walked away. Let me go back to the beginning. My younger sister, Morgan, was born 2 months prematurely bluer than a robin's egg and spent the first 3 years of her life hooked up to tubes and machines at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Naturally, my parents were very protective of her. They'd camp out by her bedside, buy every toy she pointed to, and demand that I stop going out with friends to watch her tea first. I assumed this was correct. She was my chronically ill baby sister after all. But then Morgan got older and healthier. She no longer needed oxygen tanks or feeding tubes and could live entirely normally. However, by this point, she had discovered that being unwell got her anything she desired, whether it was material possessions or simply pity and attention. Her headaches began to inexplicably return whenever she had algebra homework. Mom and Dad would whisk the textbooks away, replacing them with Ben and Jerry's Chunky Monkey and Netflix access. By the time Morgan was 11 and I was 16, she had mastered her act, and it bothered me, since her pain only struck during my best times. When I made varsity soccer at Lincoln High, she got inexplicable stomach cramps, forcing my parents to leave my first game early. When I was accepted to Penn State, she fell during my celebratory supper at Olive Garden, and we spent the night in the emergency room at Jefferson Hospital, where physicians discovered nothing wrong. The worst part was that she would smirk at me when our parents weren't watching. She even tried making pained looks in the bathroom mirror. I tried to show my parents once, but Morgan had already told them I was resentful of the attention she required for her condition. My lover Ethan lasted 8 months until Morgan got to him. She fabricated bogus screenshots of text chats in which I allegedly branded her a faker and wished she would simply leave. The split took place at Starbucks on Market Street. Ethan pushed his iPhone across the table to show me the proof Morgan had assembled. He refused to be with someone who mistreated their sick sister. Morgan texted me a selfie wearing the Eagles sweater Ethan gave me for Christmas. That was my breaking point. For 5 years, I'd watched her steal everything that was important to me, so I began to watch her intently, far more closely than anyone else had. I saw a pattern. Every time Morgan was in agony, she grasped her right side, whether it was her head, stomach, or kidneys. She always called for Mom first, never Dad. Her pain was consistently scored between 8 and 10 on the medical scale, and she usually recovered in exactly 2 to 3 hours, which was just enough time to undo everything I had planned. Once I recognized this trend, I devised my strategy. And this Sunday at our monthly family dinner, it went down better than I could have imagined. We were having our usual meeting with all of the aunts, uncles, and cousins at Grandma Helen's house in Germantown, with around 20 people jammed around her large oak dining table, which had been in our family for decades. 20 minutes before supper, I excused myself to the upstairs bathroom and filmed a video on my phone. In that video, I indicated that I was ready to make a phony statement about being promoted at my marketing agency downtown. I foresaw Morgan's reaction. She would wait for the ovation to die down before grabbing her right side and whimpering for Mom. She'd rate her agony as an 8, 9, or 10. She would need to lie down right away and ask her mother to drive her to the hospital if the agony did not subside within 20 minutes. During dinner, I stood up and clinked my wine glass with a butter knife, drawing everyone's attention. The talk ceased as 20 pairs of eyes fixed on me. Then I revealed that I had been promoted to senior account manager with a significant raise at Henderson and Associates. Everyone exploded into applause and congratulations. Uncle Brian caressed my back. My cousins Brittany and Ashley held me tightly, and Mom had tears of pride in her eyes. The sound of clapping boomed through Grandma's dining room, along with congratulations and jokes about how I could finally afford to leave my studio apartment. Uncle Brian joked about me becoming the family's wealthy niece, while Grandma was already discussing how I could assist her with her prescription expenditures. I kept a grin on my face, greeting and thanking everyone, but my eyes were fixed on Morgan. She was sitting at the far end of the long table between my cousin Jake and Aunt Melissa, mindlessly moving around the mashed potatoes on her plate. For a brief period, she appeared to be truly thrilled for me almost, but I knew her too well. I noticed the exact moment something changed in her expression. It was modest, as it often is, a small constriction around her eyes and a slight stiffness of her shoulders. She looked around the table, observing how everyone was looking at me, how they were truly happy about my accomplishment, and how I was shining. Then it began. First, Morgan stopped eating. She dropped her fork onto her dish with a gentle clink, which only a few people closely noticed. Aunt Melissa inquired as to her well-being, but Morgan simply shook her head with the forced smile she employed to appear courageous in the face of unbearable suffering. I kept talking with Uncle Brian about the intricacies of my promotion, brazenly lying about responsibilities I didn't have and a salary that didn't exist. But part of me was counting down like a Swiss watch. 3, 2, 1. She moved her hand to the right side of her abdomen. The initial moan was hardly audible, a quiet sigh that blended into the background sounds of discussions. But Morgan understood exactly how to project her voice, giving the impression that she was attempting to hide something when in fact she wanted everyone to hear. My cousin Jake, who was sitting next to her, paused midway through his narrative about his new job at the fire department. "Morgan, is everything okay there?" he inquired, leaning toward her with worry. "It's nothing," she said softly, but loud enough for at least half the table to hear. Her voice had that distinct, courageous tone mixed with a trace of vulnerability that always warmed people's hearts just a little. "Just a pain," she said quietly, and so began the show I'd seen so many times before. Aunt Melissa immediately turned to face Morgan, forgetting her talk with Grandpa Joe about the Eagles' chances this season. "What kind of pain, sweetie? Where does it hurt?" Morgan curved slightly in her chair, a flawless performance measured to the millimeter. Not overly dramatic, as that would appear artificial, just enough to indicate real discomfort. "It's here, on the right side," she explained, pressing her fingers against her body. It came out of nowhere. I witnessed the shift in real time. Conversations gradually became quieter. Glances eventually shifted toward Morgan. My promotion, which had been the center of attention minutes before, faded into the background, replaced by the constant familial concern that enveloped my sister. Mom, who had been laughing with me at Uncle Mike's account about his awful fishing trip, abruptly stopped laughing. That emotion I recognized so well began to spread over her face, the maternal terror Morgan knew how to instill with surgical precision. "Morgan, what happened, honey?" Mom was already partly up from her chair, and her napkin had fallen on the hardwood floor. Morgan always looked at Mom first, never at Dad. I'd seen this trend years ago. "Mom, it's hurting quite a bit," she said quietly, her voice shaking just enough. Not too much, not too little, just enough to sound authentic, but not so much that it appeared theatrical. Dad, like always, shifted into problem-solving mode. "What kind of pain?" "Cramping. Burning sharp?" "It's a dull ache," Morgan said, closing her eyes as if trying to convey it correctly, "but really intense, and it's getting worse." Grandma Helen crossed herself. Uncle Brian scowled, worried. My cousin, Ashley, had already asked if anyone had Advil in their purse. The entire room's attention had turned from me to Morgan. As if water was whirling down the drain, I remained smiling, joining in the supposition about what was causing Morgan's anguish. But inside I was captivated by how the machine worked. It was like witnessing a conductor direct an orchestra, each sigh, display of anguish, and statement tailored to elicit the exact appropriate reaction. "On a scale of 1 to 10, Dad inquired, already taking the Honda keys from the sideboard near the table. Over the years, our family has developed a hallowed ritual around this topic. Morgan hesitated for a moment, as if assessing the severity of the agony. Another excellent touch. If she responded instantly, it might appear rehearsed. "It's an 8. She finally answered, her voice becoming softer. "Maybe a 9. Of course it was. It was never less than 8. Never give a 10, it's too dramatic or evident. Always between 8 and 9, enough to cause concern, but not enough to raise suspicions." I saw the entire family dynamic shift around Morgan's sorrow. Aunt Melissa began informing everyone about her kidney stones. Grandma whispered about how the poor girl had been through so much since she was young. My cousin Jake had already suggested that it might be appendicitis. In less than 5 minutes, my promotion had faded into the past. Morgan curled slightly more, using her second hand to support the first. "Mom, I think I need to lie down," she said softly, but clearly enough for everyone to hear. And then she did something that made me want to shout. She grinned after gazing directly at me for a second, when she was certain no one else was looking. A little smile, almost unnoticeable, but it was there. The smile of someone who has just scored the winning goal. I logged into the shared utility account, the one I'd created to streamline their bills, canceled every scheduled payment, removed my card, changed the admin access, and locked them out. Next came the streaming platforms. My Netflix, my Hulu, my Amazon Prime, all tied to my email, all used freely by the people who couldn't spare me a kitchen seat. Gone. Every profile deleted. Then came the phone plan. 5 lines. Me, my parents, my sister, and her husband. I didn't cancel. I transferred. Ownership. They had 72 hours to accept the new terms. If they didn't, every number would be deactivated. Then the Wi-Fi mesh system I installed personally. Their security cameras linked to my cloud infrastructure, my company's tools, their smart locks, thermostats. Even the lawn irrigation schedule was built on software I licensed for them. At 3:04 a.m., I disabled their access. Quietly. No alert, just silence. At 3:26 a.m., my sister texted me, "Why aren't the cameras working?" I didn't answer. I moved to the deeper layers next. The mortgage. This was the one that had me leaning back in my chair, breathing deep. I'd co-signed it 4 years ago when their credit was in the dirt, and the bank wouldn't even offer a dog loan. But I had leverage now. I reached out to the lender, requested a co-signer removal review, and submitted updated financials. The rep remembered me. I once helped him recover a corrupted server. He expedited the request. The kicker: my parents didn't qualify anymore. Not even close. Their income had dropped. Debt-to-income ratio spiked. Without me, they'd be forced to refinance at a brutal rate. If they could refinance at all, I didn't care. That house wasn't my problem. Then I opened the spreadsheet. Yes, I had a spreadsheet because you don't survive a family like mine without receipts. Every account, every payment, every favor, every lie. I went line by line. My mom's new laptop lease through my business account. My dad's online accounting software still registered under my license. The family's shared password manager created and maintained by me. Each one terminated, removed, locked. It wasn't malicious. It was math. They'd outsourced their digital life to me, assuming I'd never pull the plug, but I did. Then came the emails. First, my parents' small accounting firm. The one I set up their back end for free of charge. Second, my uncle's dental clinic, still using firewall and data redundancy protocols I designed 8 years ago. I opened our company admin portal, found both clients and reclassified them as terminated. Their infrastructure gone, not deleted. Just removed from our systems. I wasn't sabotaging. I was resigning. I left a simple message in both dashboards. This system was maintained at no cost for over a decade. Effective today. Access has been revoked. Thank you. At 4:42 a.m., my phone started buzzing. Dad, 3 missed calls. Mom, 6 texts. Uncle, voicemail. We're locked out. Can you fix it? No, I could not. Maya was still beside me watching quietly. Then she said, "They're not mad. They're scared." I nodded. They weren't angry because I'd cut them off. They were terrified because for the first time, I wasn't playing the role. I wasn't John the Fixer. I was John the Firewall. By 8 o'clock a.m. my inbox was full. From the dental office manager, "We can't access patient records." From the firm's CPA, "All our billing software is offline." From my mom, "Please just fix it. You're better than this." I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I forwarded their contacts to a commercial IT firm I trusted and wrote, "They'll need a full system rebuild. Charge your standard rate plus emergency recovery." By noon, my financial advisor had transferred my assets into a trust, a new one, with a clause that explicitly excluded my parents and sister from any financial benefit. I wasn't just unplugging the machines. I was cutting the wires, welding them shut, and building a firewall so high they'd never climb it again. That afternoon, my sister tried calling. I let it ring. Then I got a text. "Was it worth it? You're alone now." Maya looked at it, then at me. "No, you're not." And that's when I realized this wasn't revenge. This was extraction. This was a rescue mission for myself. I wasn't punishing them. I was refusing to participate. They hadn't just used me. They drained me emotionally, called it love, and never noticed the cost. So I stopped answering, stopped fixing, stopped pretending. And as the digital silence grew, they finally started to feel what I had felt for years. Invisible. But, unlike them, I wouldn't cry about it. I just let the silence speak louder than I ever could. They didn't react immediately. That's what surprised me. After I disabled access, rerouted the mortgage, revoked every system, and locked down everything they took for granted. The first 12 hours were silent, but by the evening of day 1, the texts began to crawl in. From Mom, what happened to the thermostat? From Dad, why the phone saying pinning transfer from my sister? You're being petty. We needed help, not drama. I ignored them, but I knew that was only the beginning because my family didn't know how to operate without control. And now they were floating in it, spinning in silence, and silence for them was louder than any explosion. On day 2, the mask slipped. At exactly 9:04 a.m., I got the first group message from Dad. You need to stop this. It's childish. Family helps each other. My sister, you're only upset because you didn't get your way. And my mom, a master of guilt-wrapped expectations. You think we owe you for things we never asked for. You're not a martyr, John. I read it 3 times. Not because it hurt, because it was so predictable, so scripted. They didn't even know they were repeating a pattern. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my lawyer's email. He'd filed the paperwork. That morning, removal of co-signature confirmed, asset transfer completed, restraining clause added to the trust fund effective immediately, and then an unexpected surprise. An alert from my company's compliance team. Someone had tried accessing the old shared credentials to our infrastructure hub from an IP address registered to my uncle's office. I didn't need to guess. They were trying to backdoor their way in, regain access, patch the leaks. So, I tightened security further, reissued new encryption protocols, notified legal, and then I made one final move. I forwarded everything to our external auditor, not just to protect myself, but to make it official. At 3:12 p.m. that day, the backlash started. Voicemail from Mom. You've destroyed your own family over what? Some bills. Voicemail from Dad. You'll regret this. You think these people you're talking to now will be there forever? They won't. We're your blood and the most pathetic from my sister. You're clearly overwhelmed. We're worried about you. We're telling people you're just having a breakdown so they don't think worse. That one made me pause because it was a play I knew well. The he's not angry, he's unstable trick. The easiest way to discredit someone is to reframe their clarity as chaos. So, I saved the message, downloaded it, archived it, forwarded it to my lawyer, then shut off my phone. By day 3, the smearing started. Cousin Ellie texted me, "Hey, you okay? Just saw something weird." She sent a screenshot, a vague post from my mother's Facebook page. It's always the quiet ones you have to worry about. Prayers for healing and guidance. Below it, 46 likes, 17 comments, mostly fake concern. One said, "He was always so cold. I guess now we know why." Another, "Hope you're all safe. Let us know if you need anything." I wasn't tagged, but I didn't need to be. Everyone knew who it was about. I didn't comment, but Ellie did. She wrote, "You relied on him until he couldn't take it anymore, and now you're acting like the victim. Shame on you." They deleted her comment within an hour, then blocked her. Day 4 was the escalation. An email from an unknown sender reached my company's HR inbox. Anonymous email, no name, just a subject line, concern about John, internal fraud. Inside, a half-page of fabricated accusations, allegations of financial misconduct, data manipulation, even unauthorized access to client infrastructure. They wrote it like someone who knew corporate structure, legal triggers, and just enough buzzwords to sound dangerous. But they made one mistake. They referenced a client complaint from 2020, one that never existed. Because in 2020, I was on medical leave recovering from surgery. I pulled the email headers, traced the IP. Guess where it came from? My dad's office. Same subnet use for their tax filing software. They tried to destroy my career, the very system that paid for their luxuries. So, I did what they feared most. I went public, not with drama, with receipts. That evening, I posted a thread. No names, no finger pointing, just facts, a list of systems I created and maintained, screenshots of the payments I'd made over the years, a redacted summary of the attempted smearing email, including timestamp and IP trace, a simple sentence to close it. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is cancel the subscriptions they didn't even know you were paying for. By midnight, it had 2,000 shares, 500 comments, dozens of DMs, people telling their own stories, people recognizing the pattern, people saying, "Thank you." I thought I was alone. My mom saw it. She emailed me the next morning. Subject line, We need to talk, please. The body. You've always been so cold. I didn't know it hurt you this much. Can't we fix this before it gets worse? I forwarded it to my lawyer, then blocked her email. Day 6. They showed up. Literally knocked on Maya's door at 7:48 p.m. Mom, Dad, and my sister standing like a sad version of an intervention crew. Maya answered. Didn't invite them in. Dad tried to step past her. She blocked him. We just want to talk. On their faces. You all know now. You all know what kind of person she really is. You know what she did to me, to this family, for years. I grabbed my handbag and approached the door. Morgan's genuine, not fake. Tears followed me. Where are you going? Mom inquired, tears flowing down her cheeks. Away from here, I said. Away from this toxic dynamic, and especially away from her. I pointed at Morgan without looking in her direction. I'm going where I should have gone years ago. I'm going to build a life where people like her can't reach me. The door crashed behind me, but not before Morgan began screaming. This time, the pain was genuine, not fabricated. The misery of finally having to confront who she truly was. And for the first time in years, hearing her sorrow did not make me feel guilty. It made me feel liberated. Sometimes the truth hurts more than any lie could. However, sometimes the agony is exactly what is required to finally recover.